Everyone, welcome back to Nutrition Made Simple, a video series that we created that takes a look at topics surrounding natural health, and then we break them down into easy to understand and actionable steps. My name's Brian Strickland. I'm joined again today by Ed Jones. He is the owner and founder of Nutrition World, and we've made it. We've made it to 22. We started a new year, believe it or not. It's pretty incredible to think about all the events that have happened in the last year or two, but we're here. And with that being said, a lot of people are looking towards their health at the beginning of a new year, whether that is weight loss or just wanting to get a grip on their health in general, especially in light of a pandemic. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We just have a few tips. I think we've got around 10 topics that we're going to cover just very briefly and kind of walk you through what we think is a good place to start as far as regaining control of your health this new year. So we do have a lot to talk about, so I don't want to waste much time, Ed. So let's go ahead and get straight into the first one, which is optimizing your vitamin D level.
I sound like I continue on this path, and I have for several years, but Nutrition World has offered free vitamin D because of its vital importance to long-term health to school teachers, firemen, police officers, and healthcare workers. Mm-hmm. Why would Nutrition World do that for almost 2 years? Because I know, based on studies, the vital importance of maintaining a level at least of about 40 nanograms. We do blood testing here at the store, and it's just amazing how many people think they have enough, even if they supplement. Yeah. And sometimes they have too much, so testing's important. About 90% of the people who have passed away with was low in vitamin D. Mm. And that doesn't mean it absolutely caused it, but there's too much strong relationships there to ignore the importance of it. Everything from how your bones are healthy and muscle gain, depression, anxiety, so much is involved around this vitamin D issue. So optimize your vitamin D, people. If you don't want to do a blood test, take between 2,000 and 5,000 units. Hope for the best. I don't like doing that. I think you should do blood testing because I have to do 14,000 units a day to maintain at least 50 nanograms, and I usually only hang about 55 nanograms. So everybody's different. And that's why we have to do blood testing. We do it every Tuesday here, so you can pop in any morning, walk in, and do blood testing. And
I think especially in the winter months, obviously supplementing with vitamin D is very important just because the days are shorter, people are getting less sun exposure.
Yes.
So that's an important one to think about as we move into 2022. And along the same lines, we want to boost our immune support supplements as well. And that's actually number 2. And vitamin D is included in those, obviously, but there are some others that you recommend too, right?
There is, and we certainly have learned a whole lot over the past 2 years that we didn't have but some clues to before. And we know, one is, what is the importance of having a robust immune system? It's kind of like having a great police department and fire department. They're standing ready for trouble. That's what we can hope for when we have a wonderful white blood count with all the right immune system segments put together. Well, we can do that through the knife and fork is still the most powerful weapon, which is eating properly, and then a few other things. But the nutrients, NAC, incredibly important because it keeps your lungs healthy. Vitamin C, the gold standard, is still so valuable. And in fact, there's only about 3 creatures on Earth that don't make their own vitamin C when they're sick, and that's us and a little monkey and a rodent. But every animal, including your dog and cat, they get a viral infection. Guess what happens? Their vitamin C internally produces huge amounts. Somewhere along the line, we lost that. I'm a big fan of multiple dosing vitamin C to maintain and to get better if you're sick. Well, then we have zinc and quercetin, and those are, we won't go into it, but very important to maintain this healthy fire department immune system. And these come in kits now. I mean, for $30 a month, you can buy a box of these nutrients in a little packet. You just rip them off. I gave some at Christmas time to people who were, constantly getting sick.
Yeah.
Because they're not into supplements. So these kits are wonderful. So base some of your supplementation probably on boosting this immune system.
Yeah, and there are a handful of products that we carry that we really love too that are more or less a blend of all of those put together. I mean, so you take 3 a day, you're good to go. So we highly recommend that as well. Something that people may not think a whole lot about is your liver health, and that's what we want to talk about number 3. And how exactly do you boost your liver health, and why is it so important?
Well, the liver has so many functions, dozens and dozens of controlling cholesterol and hormones and sending nutrients. Detoxifying your body is the biggest one. It has a system called a P450 system. It takes any kind of poison we breathe, eat, or take in, and it helps to detoxify if it's super healthy. Well, sometimes the liver gets overloaded, and of course, fatty livers are epidemic, and half of the fatty livers are non-alcoholic fatty liver.
Right.
Why does that happen? It's because we eat the wrong foods and we don't take enough omega-3. We eat way too many carbs, and it's starting to produce this fattiness in the liver, which disrupts the way it works. Well, I have been a massive fan for probably almost 35 to 40 years of taking milk thistle, another name is Silimarin, with NAC as a preventative, because they did a study on rats that were given the poisonous mushroom. This poisonous mushroom is 100% lethal if you don't get medical treatment quickly. And even with medical treatment, about 80% die. Well, when they preloaded these animals with milk thistle, or Silimarin's the other name, they about 70% survived. It shows you the protective effect of one of the most toxic compounds, which is a poisonous mushroom. If it can do that to that, those diesel fumes I might have breathed coming back from lunch today, it probably helped. And maybe some of the water, the unsweet tea I'm going to drink at a restaurant that has contaminants. All these small things build up. I want an armor of protection. It's cheap, it's safe, it's effective. You have medical conditions, check with your doctor, but it's extremely safe.
Fair enough. Number 4 has to do with the diet. Well, 4 and 5 actually do. And one of the things that we talk about a lot here is the dangers of oils. I mean, and bad oils that are found in your diet and replacing them with good ones. So number 4, what are the oils to look out for, and what should we replace them with?
We've gone through a lot of decades of misinformation, and part of it was just we didn't know things. But once processed oils started being made for commercial reasons, which was they were inexpensive and they were room stable, they tasted good. Well, back in the 40s and 50s, when people started transitioning out, especially manufacturers and restaurants, got out of using real butter and more stable oils, they went to these vegetable oils. Well, that has been a health disaster. Everything from macular degeneration down to mitochondrial dysfunction is put to a test with these oils. Canola oil, safflower oil, most of the oils that are all used in every restaurant is a vegetable oil. Well, you know what? Back in the day, vegetable oil, this comes from a vegetable, so it must be healthy. It's absolutely one of the worst things you can consume. Do I take in some? Of course, I eat out. But cutting down and never having fried food decreases it significantly. And buying foods or having foods that don't require oils. Now, I use olive oil with every meal because we need to replace the oils with something. And those oils that need to be replaced with need to be healthy. So avocado oil is a pretty good oil. Organic butter is great oil. MCT oil, coconut oil, and olive oil. Now, you really can't cook with like olive. If it smokes, you've ruined it. Coconut oil is very stable. Disregard all the headline myths about how bad coconut oil is for you. It generally is very healthy in modest amounts. There's no danger to it. It's just old school medical inertia that they keep rebirthing the old headlines from the past. So get rid of these vegetable oils, people, as best you can. Minimize them. Even in cooking, try to find better sources.
Yeah. And number 5, along those same lines, is following a low inflammation diet. Now, this is something that we speak a lot about, but practically, what does it look like? What foods are we wanting to eliminate in order to reduce inflammation?
Well, the biggest, bucket of those oils is fast-acting carbohydrates.
Okay.
Those have now been proven to show that they increase all of these cytokines and all of these different chemical properties in the body that make chronic inflammation happen. And Brian, chronic inflammation is at the root of almost every disease that us older people get. You don't really see that at 30. You start seeing it at 40 plus. But when you have this chronic inflammation, plaque builds up in arteries, memory loss because of perhaps deposits in the brain, arthritis. All these are not really and truly wear and tear. What it is the body trying to fix something by patching it constantly. And it does that out of a survival method, which is smart of the body, but it ends up dooming us in the long run. So eating a diet of modestly high protein, modestly high healthy fat, and lowering the carbohydrates. I lower mine to about 50 to 60 carbs Monday through Friday. Then I eat about 150 on Saturday and Sunday. Cycling is important of that. We can always talk about it later if you want to discuss it with me or whatever. But having foods that are slow acting, colorful plant-based, clean protein and clean oils and fats, the key to low inflammation. And of course, supplementally, a few of the things like curcumin and even probiotics can decrease inflammation. Again, I'm a huge fan of getting something on blood testing called C-reactive protein and keeping it under 1 and hopefully under 0.5. That's the key to looking at how much chronic inflammation do I really have. Chronic inflammation doesn't mean pain all the time. So we have to consider, like if your artery's inflamed, it's not going to hurt.
Okay. Number 6 has to do with your water and actually filtering your water to reduce the contaminants that are found in tap water. Now, we're not talking about your run-of-the-mill, water filters that we won't mention any brand names, but you know what I'm talking about. The ones that are in your fridge, and stuff like that. You have some specific water filters that do a lot more that are some of your favorites, right?
Well, first I want to say that the ultimate water filter, you'll know it's ultimate when it proves to you that it removes fluoride. Fluoride's the smallest molecule there is. If it can remove fluoride, it can remove any other contaminant, including all of the pharmaceutical drugs that everyone upstream had taken and went to the bathroom that's not being filtered out from the water company. They can't do everything. And then we know from research, fluoride lowers IQ. It lowers it in children. It lowers it in adults. It is a farce. It is one of those inertia things that happened in the 40s and 50s that just keeps on keeping on. Well, that we just have to educate ourselves. So we have a carafe at Nutrition World, $60-something. I fill it up every night, and it makes about a half a gallon. It does remove fluoride by 80%, and it's very reasonable in price. I think a reverse osmosis unit will be very good at doing that also. Not convinced of anything else, including refrigerator filters only take out the major contaminants of chlorine and a few things, really to make it taste better. That's just fine, but it's not helping your health. So clean up your water, people. That's, again, helps your liver and helps everything else about reducing toxins in our body. I sit in a sauna most days to sweat. That's not easy work. Drinking clean water is easy. You just have to make a right choice and make it happen.
Fair enough. Number 7 is exercise. Now, obviously, this is something that a lot of people are interested in. Gyms are always packed out at the beginning of the year, and then they get less crowded and less crowded and less crowded as the months go on. And part of that, I think, is people don't really know where to start or have something that is sustainable as far as an exercise plan goes. So why don't you talk about that for just a minute?
Well, the new saying that sitting is the new smoking is so true. And what that means is when we don't exercise, our blood chemistry actually changes within 1 day with inactivity. And we don't have to go to the gym, but we have to be active. We have to move. We have to move blood around. And if that's walking or it's whatever, it's fine. Now, I'm a gym nut. I believe that my ability to excel has to be in an atmosphere that is conducive to accountability, one, it means other people, and also an energy. Now, personal training, I used to think 20 years ago was a luxury. I think it's mandatory for some people to have a trainer that you're going to meet 2 to 3 times a week. We've got a gym at Nutrition World, Max Fitness. He's been with me like 19 years now, and it's one-on-one private gym. But any good gym, and you find the right trainer for you. All trainers are not the right trainer, but being active is extremely important 4 days a week. 3, you can maintain. 2, you start losing. 4, you can be optimal. 5 is also optimal. 6 is overtraining, and 7's too much.
Yeah, and some of it is easy as going for a walk in your neighborhood. Taking 30 minutes out of your day before your workday begins or after. Take a walk with your family. I mean, whatever the case may be. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. No. We just need to move our bodies. And we're going to move on to the next one, number 8, and that is optimizing sleep. Now, quality sleep, does a lot more than people think most of the time. So why is it so important that we get that good quality sleep each night?
Well, we all know what it feels like not to get it, but what's happening, the most concerning part is, I came up with this analogy years ago. If you went to Disney and every day you go to Disney, how perfect and pristine that park is. Well, you know why? It's because at night they have a whole crew that comes in and cleans it all up, makes it sparkle again. Your brain cannot detox unless it's in deep sleep. So you have insomnia, which I have had off and on for decades. That's why I'm pretty good at managing it, because I personally experience it. But when that brain does not get regular sleep, it cannot function correctly because it can't detox the daily activities of brain function and living in the world. The rest of the body can detox decently without sleep, but not the brain. So, lack of sleep can make fools of all of us. How do we create a new sleep rhythm? That is my conversation, has been for 20 years. I've got an ebook on it that you can download free. You come in and talk to us about it. We have printed versions of it. It is not as easy as this, take this, and it happens, because the more you try to sleep with an effort, the less you're probably going to sleep. It isn't something you can do like a bench press that the harder you try, the more it works. It doesn't. It works less. We have to create a rhythm, because we all have cognitive popcorn. We go to bed, we wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, and this brain starts thinking thoughts that really we're not going to solve anything. It's just popping. And to calm that, we need to increase GABA levels in the brain. That is a sense of well-being. Multiple ways to do it, one of which is taking GABA. Experimenting with a new form of CBD that's been very valuable. We can talk about, not the old form. But, there's many steps, but it's about creating rhythm again. I encourage everybody to put sleep really high on your priority list. I'd almost rather see somebody eat poorly, not take supplements, but be a great sleeper. Of course, the key is doing all of this as best we can.
Number 9 is going back to the diet just briefly, and that's adding some sort of greens or greens powder to your diet every single day. Obviously, we know vegetables are important. That's not what we're talking about necessarily, eating a side of broccoli with your dinner, but tell us a little bit about greens powder and what it does.
Well, Brian, I've evolved a lot into the philosophy, of course, good, healthy plant-based foods are a key to longevity and health. But there's more to it than just that, because most of the foods we eat today have Roundup on it, which is an antibiotic. It has a lot of chemicals. Doesn't mean that there's not still value in these really good foods. I encourage you to eat them. I eat out a lot. I can't make them have organic food, so I do the best I can with my broccoli and my coleslaw and my cabbage and my this and that. But a green drink is actually different, and we actually put that in what we call the Core 4, which is the real protocol for everyone, I believe, that could who wants to embrace a nutritional plan. It's pretty darn simple, and part of that plan is the greens powder. Now, this powder, yes, it has broccoli and those kind, but it also has some magical greens from algae and spirulina and chlorella, things that go in and do different mechanisms of purifying, also from taking acidity away from the body. One of the most alkaline substances on earth is a greens powder. When you do a greens powder, the acidity goes down in your body, and you feed the microbiome, which is the gut bacteria. That's responsible for half of your immune system, and more so even with your brain chemicals. And you're simply not going to do it probably unless you're growing your own food and you're staying at home, you're not working, and you're creating perfect food preparations. Green Vibrance is my king of green foods, and Natural Factors is my second one. Either of those is imperative for me. I will miss my pills before I'll miss my greens powder because an acidic body hurts more and has more diseases, and it's hard to not be acidic because all dairy products, all wheats, a lot of protein, not sleeping, all these things produce acidity. I want to reduce that by the use of this greens powder, so I put it in my protein drink, which I drink for breakfast every morning, and it's really darn easy.
All right, and last but not least, we're going inward, and we're not necessarily talking about the body as much as we are talking about the mind and the soul, and that's just taking a little bit of time each day to go inward and reflect on your day. I know that you've done a video about this recently that you can talk about, but what is your routine for this, and why is it so important for you to do on a daily basis?
I probably find it to be now one of the most important of all practices of my life. And when we talk about going inward, it is a self-reflective type of habit that takes us out of the daily chores of the day and the thinking patterns of the day that we have to get things done and we have to distract and we have to move over here. Well, a lot of that is very important. We operate as a very functional human being in society. We want to accomplish, but there's moments to be still and have solitude of looking at who we really are. And, we all have damages that occurred early in our life, and many of us spend the rest of our 5 and 6 decades trying to manage those initial damages. Many times nobody's fault, but we have to be our own best friend, and that's hard to do when you don't go inward. And you did this, Brian, we did a video about starting your new year right with 3 easy steps. And in that, I explained, I think, very heartfelt of how to process the inward journey, and we all have our own system and technique. And I encourage people to find that, whether it be poetry, prayer, even exercise, connecting with the nature. Stillness, though, is the key, and fighting the urge to distract. Our society, including me, distracts tremendously with this cell phone. As soon as I have a minute, I'm going to click and see what's going on or message. That's fine, but we have to find time every day to not do that. And I'm going to do more of it as I age, because it has been one of the golden pieces to my life to find more solitude and peace than I certainly used to have. And I think it puts the glue together for all these other steps to make it all work. Because I've had many clients over the years, Brian, who practiced not only these 10 steps, they practiced 100 steps to be healthy. And they were often one of the most unhealthy people I've ever seen, because they had so many inner demons that they were running from and chased by ghosts, because they were never willing to look inward. They always pointed out, and they felt like somebody can fix them out here. We're mainly our own best physician, and we need to look inward. So I'm sorry to go on a little lengthy on that, but that's the 10 steps to hopefully some of those you can think about, or all of those, and embrace.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, sorry, we ran a little long. We understand that, but we do hope that these steps will be helpful for you as you begin your new year. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. As always, if you liked this content, be sure to like and subscribe. Not only does that help us out, it helps you out as well. You'll get notifications if you turn them on whenever a new video comes out. And we do have some really exciting things planned in the very near future. So stick with us, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Be bold, be brave, and be prepared.